Good morning again. I thought my job was done after one round. Looks like I have to stay up a bit longer, right? So let's dive right in, right? Scott, I'll start with you.
Thank you.
Can you give us a quick overview of the current state of the investment industry? What would you say are the key trends and challenges that will shape the future of the industry? And more importantly, the practitioners, or even the future practitioners here.
Thanks, Shin-Yong. Hi, everyone. So I'm Scott. Coming, as the MC mentioned, I'm from Hong Kong. Great to be here today. I've actually spent a week, last week in Singapore and this week in Malaysia. So I'm going back this afternoon. It's great to be here, though, to attend this event. And on behalf of CFA Institute, I just want to introduce a bit about CFA Institute, because I think we are well known by the CFA program, but in fact, we're more than just a producer of the CFA program. So we are a professional body that intends to promote the highest standards of ethics, education, and professional excellence for the ultimate benefit of society. So in addition to organizing the CFA program, we also conduct a lot of research. And going back to what Jin-Yong asked, in fact, we have actually produced a report recently that focus on the factors that will impact the investment industry in the next 5 to 10 years. And diving right in, on the left-hand side of your screen, you will get to see the mega trends. So on the top, well, they are the mega trends that are not only impacting the finance and investment industry, but the whole world, okay, in general. So shifting demographics, technology transformation, deglobalization, socio-economic imbalances, government footprint, and climate change. And taking into consideration of these mega trends, we then identified 4 scenarios that will impact the industry, again, in the next 5 to 10 years. And on the screen here is a bit heavy, but yeah, let's try to go through them together. Going from the left is diverging world. So the world is different. It's, because of the globalization, polarization, all this equality, and aging population. What does it mean? It means that the markets are different to each other. There's no one-size-fits-all investment products that can fit all the asset owners, all the governments, and all the investors. So as a result, I think there will be more and more different products, personalized products that will be produced or that are required to produce to fit the client's needs. Imagine, in the investment world, in the finance world, we are serving the investors. We are to listen to the client's need and to provide what they need to best suit their needs, be it government or regulators, be it asset owners, investment managers, etc., etc. So that's diverging world. The second one, digital transformation. I think it's we've come across with a lot of jargon surrounding it. Gen AI, ChatGPT, tokenization, Bitcoin, etc., etc. And it's more than that. But I just want to engage all of you here. Can I have a show of hands who's using ChatGPT now in your work or your homework? Wow. Well, I'm not sure whether it's allowed in your uni, so that's great that you are showing your hands. It's not recorded, because some unis actually ban them. I do use it, at least in my communications and my proposal drafting, etc. So as you can see, AI is in our life. It's part of our life now. And then, who is, I think among the investors, like let's say investing in stocks, who's investing stocks through apps instead of banking websites or securities website? Who's investing in apps, through apps? I am. I mean, in the past, I go to a website, need to log in, etc., and to buy. And they are just so simple, so direct. But right now is...
I think logging on is already quite advanced. I remember the days when you need to pick up a phone and call someone.
Oh, that's right. One of the, actually, a global bank a few years back, if you want to subscribe to an IPO in Hong Kong, you need to call them up. I don't know why, but right now there's apps. And in addition to that, you will find that if the app is just straightforward, very dull, very plain, you don't like using it. You like those fancy graphics, with gamification. So the more you buy into securities, then you can actually get level up, just like playing games, like Sarima asked, any gamers here. investing in stocks is also more like games now. So again, AI and all this new transformation is changing our world, but also we need to look into also the regulatory side, the investor protection side of things. But this is a big scenario that everybody's in the industry, every player is looking into. And then the third one is sustainable finance, and then also like jargons, ESG, climate change, net zero, decarbonization. These jargons happen in every single conversation in your day-to-day practice and client facing. So you need to know what it is in order to talk about it, in order to practice and embrace it. And last but not the least, end of cheap money. So after COVID, there's a high interest rate, inflation, so no more printing money. So what does it mean? It means that performance matter, active management matters, and capital are actually flowing into areas where, active managers or investment managers can really perform, public or private assets as well. So these are the main scenarios that are impacting the industry right now. And if you are in the industry looking for a change or embracing changes, or if you are outsiders looking into this industry, remember the scenario and think how you can equip yourself with this. And even CFA Institute ourselves, we have been, changing as well. Reseena will be talking more about it, let's say, in terms of how we are introducing different pathways in our level 3 exams of CFA program. And also, we're producing this professional shorter version of certificates in specific themes, digital, data science, and then ESG, private markets, etc. in equipping these changes, these scenarios here. And then Jin Yong, just to sum up with your question, and actually resonate with Sarima's sharing as well. What does success look like, or how can you be a successful talent in this field? Be a part of these T-shaped teams. T-shaped teams includes 3 things: investment function down the bottom, innovation, and then technology up the top. So you can either be, it's great if you can do all of them, but even if not, at the very least, be an investment professional, or be an innovator, or a technology expert. Thank you.
That's a lot to pack in. Now, before I continue the next question, I'm just going to ask probably a stupid or redundant question. Anyone here has a smartphone? Anyone here don't have a smartphone? I'm sure you realize on your way in there are QR codes everywhere. I forgot to mention there's a QR code for this session where you can ask questions. Just scan the QR code, right? We'll flash that out later on, right? I'm sure after all this sharing, you probably have some things that you'd like to know further. So, looking at our audience today, I believe it largely comprised of undergraduates or fresh graduates, final year, or folks who are early in their career journey. So, I was wondering, how do your peers in the rest of the world globally, right? What are they thinking about the job market, their career prospects? Scott, do you have anything to share on that?
Thanks, Jin Yong. I think on behalf of CFA Institute, I do have something to share. So every year we've been doing what we call graduate survey. So we survey our uni students and fresh graduates at the age of between 18 to 25 around the world to see how, what they think about the career and many other aspects. So fresh off the oven, I've actually summarized the results for 2024 survey for you. And remember this, I think earlier today, MC mentioned that, pay attention to our sharing because there will be quizzes towards the end of the session or towards the end of the day that if you're able to answer them, you may get a prize, right? So the first is, before disclosing the first one, can I once again have a show of hands? Who here are confident about your future career prospects? Show of hands. You're confident that you can land a good job? 1, 2, 2 hands, 3. All right.
You come to the right place.
Yeah.
You are not confident.
You have come to the right place. First of all, you are different. You are different to the global survey result. We've actually surveyed close to 10,000 people around the world. 78% of them 70 people in every 100 people. They are actually confident about their future and career. Why? Well, to boost your confidence, I think you're shy, but to boost your confidence, there are employer exhibitions right next door. Please go there during breaks. And then there are also mentors outside during breaks and lunchtime and whatnot, or afternoon session. Just go and talk to them, and hopefully at the end of the day, ask yourself again, and you're confident, okay? So that's the first finding. And then secondly, the most popular degree, finance degree, is still preferred and followed by STEM. And then the concerns from graduates, low pay, well, there are always our concern about low pay. So how can we get a higher pay? You need to equip yourself, upskill yourself, right? And that's why you're here today. So you are already better than those who are not here today. And on the other hand, I think the new graduates, they are more and more looking for, a nice or suitable working arrangement. So to have a balance between work and life. So 62% of them actually do that. And the fourth finding is AI. I think it's always a dynamic. For every talk that I present, I think I will also always get questioned. So, I'm worried about AI, but then I understand AI is important. And that is the fact. We are worried too. So AI will undoubtedly get rid of some nitty-gritty jobs or junior roles. But then, when you embrace AI in your work, you are much more efficient and effective. So as a graduate, hello. Oh, yeah. So as a graduate, what should you do? I think you need to work it out yourself. And my advice is, sorry, I just switched mine. I think that would be better. So I think the advice is learn more while you are studying, like before you graduate, and you just keep learning, because it's new not only to you. AI, Python, and all that is not just new to you, it's new to a lot of us as well. We also need to upskill, so we are level playing on this, okay? So just 4 more findings before I end this survey. So upskilling is important. In fact, 95% of people who are surveyed would think that they need to upskill in order to be successful in the industry. So having a bachelor degree, master's degree is great, but continuous learning, I think, is important. And then there are also other findings as well. Time spent in your first job, and then graduates are torn between wanting to experience different companies or sticking with one company. So I think the advice from me or a lot of us would be, it's okay to kind of jump between jobs or stay in a job for 1 or 2 years in the first early stage of your career, because you don't know your interests. Again, going back to what Sarima mentioned, develop your interests, right? Not only your personal interests, but you can also test out different jobs. But again, you should be able to identify your interests and your strengths at the age of, let's say, 30, and then you stick to that and move on. Yep. And looking to positively impact social and environmental issues. As I said, sustainable finance is one of the major scenarios. And we are very, very grateful that a lot of these survey respondents, they think that ESG sustainability is important. Last but not the least, social media. So I'm actually quite interested. So when you look for career advice, a show of hands again, who goes to TikTok and look for, or YouTube to look for career advice? Okay, not too many. Who goes to your parents to look for career advice? Okay, that's good. And then what about professors? Oh wow, we need to let the professor know, yeah? And then peers. Oh, that's about peers. But we find that there are increasingly people that look for advice through social media, which is important. But you need to think for yourself and identify. So which KOLs are more trustworthy? Whose advice should you really trust, right? Professors, I think they're still very reliable, and of course, parents, peers, and a lot of mentors here, a lot of CFA charter holders here in this building. Please speak to them and get more advice. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Just now you mentioned about KOL and trust, and you mentioned about AI. How would you know that the KOL you see online is for real, right? Something to consider. So I think this is a pretty good event where you can actually meet a person face to face. You know it's not fake, right? For once, right? So yes, I was also wondering, was AI trying to take over your mic? Anyway, thank you so much, Scott, for sharing the graduate survey. Over to you, Reseena. Okay, before that, I mentioned this in my welcome note just now about using GPS, Google Maps, Waze to help us navigate our career journey. But that is only if we know where we want to go in our career journey, what role you want to do, and also why do we want to go there, right? So, Reseena, we're talking a lot about this thing called the CFA program, right? But first we should ask the question, in fact, two questions. Why do folks take the CFA program, number one? Number two, where do they intend to be in, say, 3 to 5 years' time as a result of enrolling in this very well-known and respected program? Reseena, what do you think?
Thank you. Thanks, Junyu. Okay, so I think there's two parts to your questions. You asked about where and how are they, and why they're doing it. Yeah. Maybe let's take a step back first and figure out who are these candidates, first of all. Because I think when people think of CFA program, they tend to have sort of a one-track mind about, it's maybe only in investments or people who are really coming from a finance background. So we did a survey of our candidates, and this is a snapshot of what they look like. So it might be surprising, or at least at the top, maybe it's not new to you. So, you see the analysts, the financial planners, investment consultants. But if you go down the line, you start to see quite a diverse range. So you see the data scientists, consultants, IT even, so going back to Puan Sarima's sharing earlier. So very, very different. And maybe some of you sitting here as well are also coming from very different backgrounds. If you're already working, perhaps you see yourself in one of the, maybe not even on this list. So that already shows the diversity of it. Now, looking into why, don't take my word for it. This is, again, directly from the horse's mouth. This is what our candidates are telling us. Why do they do the CFA charter? So first of all, I think the top of the list is something that I hear often, all the time when we go to different markets. It's the differentiation or signaling the value to your employers, to your peers, that you want to be the best of the best. So that's top of mind. If I go down a little bit, global recognition. In fact, one thing that charter holders always tell us, it's not just the recognition globally, but it's also essentially a passport in many of the cases, and you'll see that down the line as well. It offers global mobility, because whether you are a charter holder in Malaysia or in Singapore or in the US or in Japan, it's all the same. It's one charter, it doesn't differentiate. So that really puts you on par with almost now 200,000 people. And then somewhere in the middle, you'll see that already studied much of the curriculum at school. I think many of you who are sitting here, you come from what we call the university affiliation program, so affiliated universities, so CFA Institute, which means that the curriculum that you're studying, if your degree program is affiliated, is at least 70% aligned to CFA's curriculum. And so that means what you're studying, and as you're preparing for your degree to graduate, you're actually also preparing for the CFA program, so that you're giving yourself another head start. So this is why many of the candidates are telling us why they do the CFA program. Now, let me drill down a little bit more into what that looks like in more practical terms, in terms of the job market. Where do our charter holders, if you continue along the path, where do our charter holders work globally? This is publicly available. This is on our CFA Institute website, but this is where charter holders work globally. Maybe some of you are aspiring to work in some of these firms someday, but let me then take it to the next granular level at Malaysia. These are the companies you'll see where the top 10 companies. Good news is many of these, almost all of these actually, are our employer partners for CFA Society Malaysia. They'll be next door. So please take the opportunity to also talk to them if you're looking to start a career in these companies.
Okay, thank you, Reseena. Now, let's think about this for a minute. Of course, we are here, we're going to talk about the CFA program, the CFA charter, but there are many qualifications and certifications out there besides this. And you can frame this against the background that we all know we live in this thing called VUCA, V-U-C-A world. What does it mean? Volatile, uncertain, ambiguous, and complex. meaning to say change is constant in this world. How does the CFA program fit into this ever-changing environment we live in?
Thank you, Jinyu. Yeah, indeed. I think that's one thing that CFA Institute is very acutely aware of in terms of the changes, the rapid changes, in fact, within the industry. And so for that reason, we continue to evolve the program. Every year we review our curriculum for all of our certificates and courses. But beyond that, because of the significant changes within the industry and beyond, we've also taken steps to evolve the CFA program particularly. So in the past year, actually, we've rolled out 6 of the most significant changes since the inception of the CFA program 60 years ago. So these are the... Oh,
sorry. Before that, you see the QR code?
Oh, yes. Please
yeah.
put in your questions.
Just give you a quick moment to scan that, and then you can start putting in questions, I'm sure, because you had a lot to process so far.
Okay, I'll give everyone a chance to scan as I continue on. But yeah, so 6 changes that we've made to the CFA program. And these are probably... you've probably seen some of this already. You've heard about some of this because they directly impact some of our undergraduates as well as those that are embarking on level 1 starting from this year. So let me dive into that. So you'll see the 6 points there. The first 3 are the ones that I'm going to elaborate in the next few slides, but let me just cover the bottom 3 first. So the focused curriculum. This is actually where we have looked at our holistically at our CFA level 1 curriculum in particular. Some of you have heard of our brand promise, the 300 hours of study. So over time, as we graduate, as we survey our candidates, what we're hearing is that increasingly the study time is sort of shifted more, and it's more than the 300 hours. And so we're looking at our curriculum. We've also found the opportunity to streamline it because a lot of the concepts we found are actually quite foundational and do not need to be tested again in the exam. And so for that, we've taken out some of the concepts like quantitative and economics. And so that means that almost 12% of the curriculum has been reduced and effectively bringing back the study time to about 300 hours. So that's for level 1. The practice pack, always we hear from candidates that they want practice questions, and also our data has shown that more candidates practice and they have access to questions, the higher the chance that they can pass at the first attempt. And so for that reason, we have now put together an optional practice pack that can be purchased, and that gives candidates access to 6 mock exams, an exam day simulation, as well as an additional group of practice questions as well. And then the last one on that list is the digital badges for level 1 and 2. So oftentimes you've heard in the past that you can only say that you're a CFA charter holder once you've passed all 3 levels and then you've applied to become a member. But we know that the path to that point is a long and rigorous one at times. And it's in itself an achievement, being a CFA level 1 candidate passer or level 2 passer. And so for that reason, and it's also a way for you to distinguish yourself, you want to be able to tell people that you have obtained each of those badges as well. We've introduced digital badging. So that's now available starting from this year. Now let me go into the top 3 because I think that's the one that is most relevant to the group here. Starting with the program eligibility. So up until last year, you had to be in your last year of undergraduate studies, so 11 months from graduation before you could enroll for level 1. But you've heard, we heard from you, from students, from faculty, that students want to start on that journey as soon as possible because that's a way for them to also stand out from their peers, to land some of those internship positions or potentially even a job position. So for that reason, we have now expanded it so that if you are in your second to last year, so 23 months from graduation, you can already enroll into level 1. And then level 2 within 11 months from graduation. So that helps you to start that journey sooner.
Anyone here has too much time while still studying in campus?
So but remember, if you are in a UAP, you're actually effectively preparing for both. So hopefully that helps as well. Okay, now let me move on to the practical skills module. So we have rolled it out for level 1 and 2 this year, and level 3 will come next year. So hint, you might want to take note of this. Level 1, the 2 PSMs, practical skills modules that are available, financial modeling as well as Python fundamentals. For level 2 this year, analyst skills as well as a more advanced Python. And next year for level 3, we have portfolio construction. So this is a mandatory requirement. Oftentimes the question I get is that part of the exam grade? It's not. It's a separate component. There's no grade. You just have to go through the videos and the actual practical assignment. And so that's about, you'll see there the number of the videos that you have to do, about 5 hours of videos, 5 hours of practice. So 10 to 15 hours in total. Complete the MCQs and do the practical assignment. So with that, it's a requirement. You have to complete it from the time of registration to before your exam results are released. So that's something that you will now, many of you probably either encountering or will do that.
I've just found it interesting. I think the Python probably addresses the T-shaped skills bit, because
Definitely. Yes.
CFA is about finance, investment, so that's the T part, I believe, where we are strong, but you cannot get away from working with information technology, correct? So I think, I guess you're not going to get people who actually write software, but they know what they're talking about when they speak to the programmers.
You're absolutely right. I mean, that's actually exactly the reason that we introduced that, is because it's also the demand from employers. They want job-ready candidates, who are able to immediately start in their roles and be able to deliver on what is expected of them. So that's the reason that, and in fact, not just our candidates, many of our members, I'm sure Jinyoung and I hear from our board members as well, who tell us that this is such a valuable tool because they need it even in their roles as well. So it's really something that the industry demands. Okay, and then the sixth change is the specialized pathways. So for some of you who, if you're already sort of on the path, you're a candidate, this is imminent, starting from 2025, the February 25 exams, candidates in level 3 will have to choose between one of three pathways. So we have, and this is going back to Scott's point earlier about the global trends that we're seeing. So the growth of private markets and private wealth is exactly why we have introduced these pathways, because this is needed by the industry as well. So the traditional portfolio management route is still available. That's what the CFA program has always been. But then in addition to that, there's also now a private markets and private wealth pathway. You'll see that the curriculum across the board is about the same, 65 to 70% the same. It only differs depending on the pathway. But there's only the outcome, ultimately, it will lead to one CFA charter. There's no differentiation at the end of the day.
So we have addressed the whys, the where. I think it's the how now, right? What would it take to actually enroll and to actually earn this program?
Okay, so how to earn? So let's start with the enrollment requirements first. There are some minimum requirements before you can even become a candidate. If you're sitting here, I think you already fulfill at least one of the first two columns. So it's either a bachelor's degree that you have, or you are a current university student. Otherwise, then the requisite work experience. So that's the minimum requirement. Moving on to then becoming a charter holder, as you continue on the path, of course, you all know it's the 3 levels. And oftentimes people assume that once you've passed level 3, you're immediately a charter holder. No, there is actually an application process. So once you've passed all 3 levels, you still have to ensure that you have met the required 4,000 hours of work experience, and then get your professional references. That's part of your application, and then you're accepted, and then you can use the 3 letters next to your name.
I thought I might add something that I mentioned in my opening speeches. I mentioned 1,000 hours. That 1,000 hours is the first part, right at the top, passing all 3 levels, yes. Right? I don't know whether that scares you or challenges you. I hope it's the latter. Motivates, yes. Right.
Okay, and then just a note on the getting through the charter. So this is again our global, the best practices or what we recommend. I think there are people who are probably more equipped to tell you about the actual journey itself. So we have also our prep providers, we have our charter holders or recent graduates as well. Please do talk to them. But on the whole, generally what we hear from candidates about what it took for them to pass, at least 300 hours of study at each level, that's the minimum. And of course, the preparation for the exam, there's only one Bible as such for that, which is the CFA program, the CBOC. So that's the only curriculum that you should be looking at, the material you should be reading. In terms of study tools, we have evolved our offerings for candidates in terms of providing a much more interactive learning ecosystem. So the moment you become a CFA candidate, you have access to this ecosystem that offers you practice questions, mock exams, discussion forums. Take advantage of all of this because that's giving you additional learning as well. And then on average, in terms of time, it is a commitment. It's about at least 4 years. If you're doing it continually, that's typically the average number of years that a candidate will need.
Okay, we keep talking about time and hours. I'm mindful of time. We have about 5 minutes more to go, but just a quick one. Thank you, Reseena. Circling back to Scott, right?
Thank you.
The industry shift you mentioned earlier. How is CFA Institute, right, evolving to prepare professionals and future professionals for all these changes besides having the CFA program?
Oh, that's fine. Thank you. Thanks, Jin Yong. So very quickly, I think I mentioned about the 4 scenarios, right? Sustainable finance, and then there's digital, and then there's end-of-chip money, then active management, or even private markets are getting more and more popular. And personalization. It's one thing that I highlighted earlier. So CFA Institute has also evolved in our learning offerings. In addition to the pathways that Reseena mentioned, we've also introduced different shorter version of certificate courses. They are more like topic specific. So for example, we have got for sustainability, for sustainable finance, we've got climate finance, ESG investing, climate valuation, and investing certificate. For private markets, we've got private market certificate, we've got private equity certificate. So these are all shorter versions of certificates. They can be self-study, but there are also maybe pair providers offering some trainings on it. The exams, the assessment are just multiple choice questions, and you don't need to take a CFA or complete and become a CFA charter holder first before taking these certificate programs. Yeah. To understand more about this certificate and new offerings, we have a booth out there. Just visit us during breaks or lunchtime, and we'll tell you more about it.
On that note, Scott, from an industry perspective, how do you see the demand for all these programs that you just briefly highlighted?
Right. Thank you. I think industry demand, I can speak from probably the authorities' perspective or shared authorities' perception as well as the firms. So for these short courses, we're grateful that authorities, let's say in Hong Kong and Singapore, they're recognizing our ESG Investing Certificate Program. They accredited, they list the program on their website, and some of them actually provide funding, as well as Thailand as well. So hopefully we'll get Malaysia authorities to partner with us or to endorse or to accredit our programs sooner or later. In terms of firms, we also have a lot of employer partners that we are working with them to together upskill their employees with these certificate programs. So yeah, we're grateful that we're seeing a lot of demands in the industry.
I think you mentioned about authorities. I believe our industry is one of the most highly regulated, so what the regulators do recommend or recognize is a very important part of the process. Now, there is a question that I saw came in, and how do we display the question? Do we go to the next slide? It's an interesting question. How did you manage to learn stuff you dislike? I mean, I have an answer to that, but I thought maybe you might want to. Okay, second one, how does the CFA program addresses the increasing complexity of financial markets in the context of emerging technologies like AI and blockchain?
Okay. First question, I think Jin Yong, you can better answer, but I'll just share my answer. Well, first of all, I think I would probably kind of weigh it as a very important thing. So in order to achieve something or to get a good career, this is something that you must learn. So whether you like it or not, you must learn. I think the importance will kind of offset the like or dislike. That's my personal take.
I think I would agree, yes. I didn't enjoy the studying part, honestly, especially quantitative methods, all about statistics. But what's important is that I know that this will help me. So not everything will be easy. That's why I started my speech with the obstacles bit. Reseena, you have something to share?
Yeah, I mean, I think back to things that I've had to study or do in the past, which I didn't like. But I think for me, I look at it as, think of it as a knowledge acquisition process more than anything. Because in my mind, the more you know, there's no like useless knowledge in general. Somewhere down the line, it may come back to find you, and you're like, oh, actually, I kind of have some background in that. So I feel like look at it as like a big picture. You know, that could be going back to the point of potentiality. That you never know which path you might find yourself someday.
It's a tongue twister, multi-potentiality. So you need to have many potentials to be able to pronounce it properly. I'm mindful of time, and I see a lot of very relevant questions, just as what Scott mentioned just now. I do apologize we can't answer all the questions, but please do drop by the booths. Some of these questions you can ask the prep providers. You can also go to the CFA Society Malaysia and CFA Institute booth if you'd like to know further, right? So with that, I would think that, yes, thank you so much, Scott, Reseena, for your sharing, right? And yeah,
Thank you.
back to you, Alex.